Have you ever read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? I've read it, and step number 2 sticks out to me. It's the one step that I always remember when people ask me about the book, and it's to begin with the end in mind. I remember first reading this book when I was in high school and thinking, yeah, beginning with the end in mind, that makes a lot of sense because, well, if I want to end up somewhere, I've got to have a roadmap with me that tells me, okay, where should my next step be? Which direction do I need to head in so that I'm going in the right direction? And the same is true with us when we think about following Jesus. We've got to begin with the end in mind so that we're on the right pathway, headed in the right direction. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be making some videos about the end, about biblical eschatology, about where is our story taking us? Where is this place that God is preparing for us to go someday? I think a lot of us, I know me included, have had some pretty wacky misconceptions about the end and where we're going. And so I just kind of want to open up Scripture and see what it has to say about where we're going, because I think it'll help us and actually affect the way that we live today. Recently my sister was married, and she met a guy in Mexico. She lives in Mexico, and we all assumed and were preparing for a wedding in Mexico. But then they changed plans and they actually got married in Pennsylvania. Luckily they told us about it so that we could prepare for it, so we could head in the right direction, because I thought I needed to buy a plane ticket and head south. Turns out I actually just needed to go to Pennsylvania. A lot easier. Changed the way I packed, what are the clothes that I need to wear. And all my plans changed because of it. The end goal changed how I prepared for that wedding. And the Bible describes the end of our story actually starting with a wedding. Starting with heaven being married to earth. Yes, that's where we're going. In Genesis 1 we see that God creates the world and everything's good and there's a perfect relationship between God and His creation. He tells Adam and Eve and mankind to rule over the world, to take His image all over the world, to cultivate it, to extend the Garden of Eden. But you probably remember what happens. There's rebellion, there's sin, and all of a sudden there's a separation now between God and man and His creation. So God says, hey, the story isn't done. I'm not done with creation. We're not going to, trash this place and get rid of it someday. And we'll all just float away and be with God in the clouds someday. The story of biblical eschatology says that there is going to be a reuniting of heaven and earth, a redeeming, a reconciling of the way that things were once and the way things ought to be. And so I think oftentimes we think, heaven is that place we'll go to, we die, we fly away, and in a sense, that's true. There's this intermediate state that the Bible describes as being with God. Paul says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. But most often, when the Bible describes heaven, it's describing what will happen, the redeemed earth, what will happen when heaven comes down here. So you just shouldn't be thinking, one day we leave this earth and go to heaven. Instead, we should be thinking of heaven coming down here. Now, that's where we're headed. We're heading towards a wedding feast. So how do we prepare? How do we get the right clothes on? The Bible describes that in many different ways, using many different metaphors. And I want to unpack some of these stories, some of these biblical truths about what do these mean and how do they affect the way that we live today. So the next few videos we're going to be talking about, okay, what does it mean that one day we're going to reign with Christ as He's King in His kingdom? What does it mean to have the right wedding clothes on? What does it mean that Judgment Day is coming? We're going to be judged by everything that we've done, right? I thought we were saved by grace. I didn't think there was anything we could do about this. What is that about? What are these treasures in heaven? Well, those questions and more will be exploring in the next several weeks, understanding, where are we going, and how does that affect the way that we live today? How does it affect our relationship with other people? How does it affect our relationship with the earth? Trash it? Don't trash it? I don't know. And where are we going? Is it just going to burn up someday? Are we going to float away, leave this world behind? Well, we'll explore those questions and see, where are we going and how does that affect the way that we live today? I hope you will tune back in for our next few videos. See you next time.